Take control. You are the medium that matters. So why is there so much media activism and participation in Twin Cities? What do you think?
Well, I think it's partly that we have a tradition here of civic literacy that's greater than the rest of the country. It's still not nearly what it ought to be, and civic literacy in the country is a serious problem, but we do have more here. We've always had high civic engagement, high political activity, high voting levels. We've also had very good traditional media, locally owned for decades, that made a model for what can be done by good professional media. The major media are not locally owned anymore, but rising up below it is an even more vigorous new media, partly because of the internet. The internet cuts both ways. You know, it's hurting the traditional media, especially print, and there are a lot fewer professional journalists than there used to be in the country because of that. But it's also opening the doors to all kinds of new stuff, which I think is really exciting.
That is really important about how this election has been covered thus far, is that it begins to transform how we understand what Main Street is. Main Street today is a different street than it was 20 years ago. It's a different street than it was 50 years ago. In order to have the right kind of policies for our nation, we need a media system that's actually going to give people the information they need, for example, to understand the subprime lending crisis. I mean, when people have that kind of information, their positions change on immigration, their positions change on criminal justice. They begin to actually integrate a full context, a full historical understanding about what Main Street is today and how we can make it the best place to live for all of us.
There were some stories that weren't being told locally, and we just happened to sort of coincide with the sort of downward spiral of the local dailies. It wasn't a response to that, but it just happened at the right time. We're sort of perspective-based journalists. We don't believe in objectivity insofar as we have to say 99% of the scientific establishment believes that evolution happened. Some disagree. Let's give them equal time. We believe in telling what we believe to be the truth, backing it up with research, and being intellectually honest about what it means.
And as we live in an increasingly transnational and global age, it's important to have those connections wherever one might be in the world. And of course, one of the things that we're seeing in rural communities is that news isn't really about the rural community anymore. Syndication, consolidation, lack of journalists who can actually make an affordable living in these towns is really limiting the stories that are told. And there's just nothing like having someone who's from a community to really offer the story, because it gives the context of understanding what it is to be part of that people, what it is to be part of that geography, and of course share information that the rest of the world knows, but do it with a heart, do it with soul, and do it with the connections that people are talking about today that really move people to create that change that we're looking for.
That we've learned that we all have a piece of the truth. Our truth, the one that we understand and know internally, is the one that's important. Believe it, trust it, act on it, but reach out to your neighbor, sister, brother, neighbor, friend, a person you may not be connected with right now. Create a connection and mobilize, organize, change community, change the world. Take control. You are the medium that matters.
I couldn't have put it better.